Today's Mass readings and Gospel reflection. November 14, 2020. Saturday of the 32nd week in Ordinary Time. First reading. A reading from the third letter of John. 3 John verse 5-8. Beloved, you are faithful in all you do for the brothers and sisters, especially for strangers. They have testified to your love before the Church. Please help them in a way worthy of God to continue their journey. For they have set out for the sake of the name and are accepting nothing from the pagans. Therefore, we ought to support such persons, so that we may be co-workers in the truth. The Word of the Lord. Responsorial Psalm. Psalms chapter 112 verse 1-6. Let our response be, bless the man who fears the Lord. Bless the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commands. His posterity shall be mighty upon the earth. The upright generation shall be blessed. Bless the man who fears the Lord. Wealth and riches shall be in his house. His generosity shall endure forever. Light shines through the darkness for the upright. He is gracious and merciful and just. Bless the man who fears the Lord. Well for the man who is gracious and lends, who conducts his affairs with justice. He shall never be moved. The just one shall be in everlasting remembrance. Bless the man who fears the Lord. Gospel reading. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Luke chapter 18 verse 1-8. Jesus told his disciples a parable about the necessity for them to pray always without becoming weary. He said, there was a judge in a certain town who neither feared God nor respected any human being. And a widow in that town used to come to him and say, render a just decision for me against my adversary. For a long time the judge was unwilling, but eventually he thought, while it is true that I neither fear God nor respect any human being, because this widow keeps bothering me, I shall deliver a just decision for her lest she finally come and strike me. The Lord said, pay attention to what the dishonest judge says. Will not God then secure the rights of his chosen ones who call out to him day and night? Will he be slow to answer them? I tell you, he will see to it that justice is done for them speedily. But when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? The Gospel of the Lord. Before we proceed with the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, please hit the notification bell, so you won't miss out when we release new videos. Feel free to share your comments, suggestions, and reflections at the comments section down below. Thank you and God bless. Now, let's proceed with the video. The reflection on today's Gospel. Today's Gospel presents an element which is very dear to Luke, prayer. This is the second time that Luke gives us the words of Jesus to teach us to pray. The first time, he taught us the Our Father, and, by means of comparisons and parables, he taught that we have to pray continually, without getting tired. Now, this second time, he uses a parable taken from life to teach us insistence in prayer. It is the parable of the widow who pestered the unscrupulous judge. The way he presents the parable is very didactic. In the first place, Luke presents a brief introduction which serves as the key for the reading. Afterwards, he narrates the parable. Finally, Jesus himself explains it. Luke presents the parable with the following phrase: then he told them a parable about the need to pray continually and never lose heart. The recommendation to pray without losing heart appears many times in the New Testament, and it is a characteristic of the spirituality of the first Christian communities. Then Jesus presents two personages of real life. a judge who had no consideration for God and no consideration for others, and a widow who struggles to obtain her rights from the judge. The simple fact of indicating these two personages reveals the critical conscience which he had regarding the society of his time. The parable presents the poor people who struggle in the tribunal to obtain their rights. The judge decides to pay attention to the widow and to do justice. The reason is to free himself from the widow who is pestering him and to get rid of her. This is an interesting reason. But the widow obtained what she wanted. This is an example from daily life, which Jesus uses to teach us to pray. Jesus applies the parable. You notice what the unjust judge has said. Now, will not God see justice done to his elect if they keep calling to him day and night even though he still delays to help them? Will he make them wait long? I tell you, he will see justice done to them, and done speedily. If it had not been Jesus, we would not have had the courage to compare Jesus to an unjust judge. Nevertheless, at the end, Jesus expresses a doubt: when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? In other words, will we have the courage to wait and have patience, even if God delays in doing what we ask him? The first Christians had an image of Jesus in prayer, in permanent contact with the Father. In fact, the life of Jesus was to do the will of the Father. Jesus prayed very much and insisted that his disciples also pray. Luke is the evangelist who gives us a great deal of information on the prayer life of Jesus. He presents Jesus in constant prayer. The following are some moments in which Jesus appears praying. When he was 12 years old and goes to the temple, to the house of the Father. He prays when he is baptized and assumes his mission. At the beginning of the mission, he spends 40 days in the desert. At the time of temptation, he opposes the devil with texts from Scripture. Jesus used to participate in the celebration in the synagogue on Saturday. He seeks solitude in the desert to pray. Before choosing the 12 apostles, he spends the night in prayer. He prays before meals. In a time of crises, he goes up to the mountain and prays where he is transfigured. When revealing the gospel to little ones, he says, "Father, I thank you." In praying, he arouses in the apostles the desire to pray. He prays for Peter so that he does not lose his faith. He celebrates the Paschal Supper with his disciples. In the Garden of Olives, he prays, even when sweating blood. In the anguish of the agony, he asks his friends to pray with him. At the moment when he was being nailed to the cross, he asks pardon for the murderers. At the hour of death, he says, "Into your hands I commend my spirit." Jesus dies crying out with the cry of the poor. This long list indicates everything which follows. For Jesus, prayer is intimately linked to life, to concrete facts, and to the decisions which he had to take. In order to be able to be faithful to the project of the Father, he sought to remain alone with him. He listened to him. In difficult and decisive moments in his life, Jesus recited Psalms. Just as any devout Jew, he knew them by heart. The recitation of the Psalms did not take away his creativity. Rather, Jesus himself created a psalm which he transmitted to us, the Our Father. His life is a permanent prayer. "I always seek the will of the one who sent me." The psalm applies to him when it says, "I am prayer." There are people who say that they do not know how to pray, but they speak with God the whole day. Do you know such a person? There are many ways which people express their devotion and pray today. What are they? What do these two parables teach us on prayer? What do they teach me regarding the way of seeing life and persons? How blessed is anyone who fears Yahweh, who delights in his commandments. His descendants shall be powerful on earth, The race of the honest shall receive blessings,